Hello Minecraft. This is Max Klein and this is my Roman city that I've made. So now this is the outside walls. This is the front entrance. Now we're going to go in. So here there's a bunch of buildings. This is called an insula. There are a lot of them in my city. That's an insula too. That's where the plebeians, like the middle to lower class people, would live in ancient Rome. So first I'm going to show you the main forum. It has a big building here. It has a little shopping center underneath a long portico. A fountain in the middle. It's unrealistically sized, but who cares? A triumphal arch. Bunch of columns, like in the real Roman Forum. Then a rostra, which is where they would do public orations, etc. Now, in here, this is a basilica over here, an ancient Roman one, specifically. Here's the inside of it, traditionally decorated. Then over here is a little bit smaller of the basilica, traditionally decorated too. Very similar to the way they'd be decorated in ancient Rome. Here are two Corinthian temples, because of the capitals on the columns over here. Then over here, this is an imperial forum. It's a replica, not exact, but it's based off of the Forum of Caesar. It has Doric order, and it has a few arches as entrances, then a few, also nice big stoa. You go under here, we have another forum, another Doric temple, and over there is another forum, an imperial forum to be specific. Go through here, and this is based on the Forum of Trajan in Rome. The big open space, the giant basilica at the end. In Rome it was called the Basilica Optima. This is kind of a reconstruction. And here it is. Now, I said that the plebeians, who the lower class, would live in insulae. The patricians, who are the very rich people, would live in domūs, which is the plural of domus, and they'd be decorated as such. They'd have a piscina in the middle of the atrium, which is this big area. They'd have rooms on the side, opening in the roof. They'd have 3 couched arrangement. They'd eat here, they'd talk, and there's a dining room, a study, and here's the peristyle. There's a garden, we've got paintings, and there are other rooms, and that's an example of a domus. Now, I'm going to go to the other side of the city, which we passed when we came in, because I wanted to show you it later. So here is a bathhouse, which is fed by this aqueduct over here. It begins on the other side of the city. I'll show you that later. And here is a recreation of the Pantheon, which is a building in ancient Rome. And here is the elaborately decorated inside. The oculus up there. Don't know what an oculus is? Look it up. And yeah. Now, over there, that is a miniature forum too. It's not really a forum, but it's like an area you can just hang out. There's a little shady area. And here, another small forum, which has an Ionic temple and a giant pillar up here, a column, not pillar, and Over here is the circus, which was the racetrack, and it's based off of the Circus Maximus in Rome. And that temple over there is based off of the Temple of Venus and Roma in Psionic order. Now, over here is the amphitheater, the gladiator ring, the Colosseum, as you would know it probably. Here they'd fight to the death, and here the emperor would watch, give a thumbs up or thumbs down. And here is a temple dedicated to Vulcan, who is the Roman god of fire. Here's the inside of the temple. Here, all the fire. Then this giant temple is the temple dedicated to Jupiter, who was the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Zeus. And here is the inside of his temple. It's much bigger than all the others. Now over here is a replica, not exact, but of the Basilica of Basilica of Constantine in Trier, Germany. It's a lot like an early Christian one. So, lets in a lot of light, big nave in the middle. And here is a building which is based off of the Domus Aurea, or Nero's Golden House. So the Emperor Nero, what he did is he burned down a lot of the Roman city just so he could make a giant palace for himself. And this is a representation of that palace, quite large, and has Corinthian order. And over here is a garden, and that is a temple in the middle there. Now over here is the theater. People go in through here. They go up here, walk up to their seat, somewhere there. That's the emperor's place. Then the orchestra would be sitting there. The actors would be there. It's a skyline front, which is an elaborately decorated front part of the theater. Now this is a representation of the Basilica of Maxentius and Constantine. It has a different outside, but the inside is a lot like it. Big arches on the ceilings, on the walls. Now, the city is very big, and it has two parts. This is the first part, which is the big part, the main part, and here's like a more regal part. It's kind of separated from the rest. So here is a temple dedicated to Mars, who is the Roman god of war. And here's the inside, lots of columns. And as you see, I have item frames with all the different armors and swords. Now, it's raised up very high. This is the highest point in the city. And over here is part of the city, like the second city, as I call it. Here's a small little garden. Here's a basilica. There's an aqueduct which leads into the palæstra over there. I'll show you that in a second. There's a giant column. So this is a second form. And there's another rostra. And here's a big stoa, Doric order, along here. This is a basilica over here. Here's another basilica. And so the aqueduct over there that I showed you leads to this, a palæstra, which is the Greek word for, it was like a wrestling school. There'd also have baths in there, so they'd wrestle over here. And over here is a triumphal arch. It's kind of hard to see the full thing. And there's a circular temple raised up. Here's a temple to Neptune, who is like Poseidon to Rome, like the Roman counterpart to Poseidon, god of the seas. And I put a pool in here, and lots of blue for his temple. Now, over here, this is the Senate house. It's not very big, but it didn't really need to be big in ancient Rome, so going through that door, walk through, sorry, and then coming through there. And it wasn't open air in ancient Rome, but I decided to make this one open air because this isn't an exact replica of ancient Rome. It's not intended to be. And senators would sit here. They'd make proposals, etc., etc., etc. So the rest of the second city, as I call it, or the Urbs secunda in Latin, is just buildings and residences. And now I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of what an insula was kind of like. So I didn't fully design every insula, but they would have a staircase leading up, they'd have shops on the side, and a lot of the time they'd have courtyard in the middle, not very elaborately decorated, but a courtyard. And not all the time, but a lot of the time. Yeah, so I'm going to go to a street view. Okay, walk down the street. See all these stores. Up to your house. And over here is another domūs. I'm going to show you it. So this one isn't as big, but still it has 3 couched arrangement, or the triclinium in Latin. All the rooms, the piscina, opening towards the roofing. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this whole area around here, called the atrium, and the peristyle over here. And that is my Roman city. You want to take a little look at the walls around here. The walls look at like from the outside. And one last part of the city I should show you is the port. It's not that big, and it takes a little while to get to, and this is a very big city. So when I get to the port, it's partly based on the port of Carthage, which was built around the bay. By the way, there's the beginning of the aqueduct that goes through the whole city all the way to that bathhouse at the end. Alright, so this is the port. Now, ships would go into there. Small ships. Only small ships could fit in there. These are big ships over here. And it's kind of based on the port of Carthage. It was inspiration, but it's not a replica. Now here's a trade ship. Roman trade ship. And there are a few of the trade ships over here. Trade ships are the one with the white marble. It's not marble, just it's white. And here, these big ships with 3 sails, not the oars, they were called triremes. And it comes from the Latin word triremus, which means having 3 sets of oars. These ones only have 2 because I couldn't really fit 3. And they'd have a ram on the front. They would ram into other boats as fast as they could. And they'd have kind of like an eye on the front. So that is my tour of this Roman city. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will get back to you with another creation. I don't know what it's going to be exactly, but I'll get that very soon. So goodbye, YouTube, and see you later.